Like the heroic tales of old that inspired the genre, role-playing games can lay on the drama pretty thick. But, as a popular clown once wisely said, why so serious? That, by the way, is likely the best advice ever given by a psychopath. As such, I definitely don't mind role-playing games that have a wacky side to them. This week I take a look at 3 such RPGs from the land of the rising sun. Up first is the Guided Fate Paradox for the PlayStation 3. Made by the same developer that created the Disgaea series of JRPGs, Nipponichi's Guided Fate Paradox diverges from its popular predecessor's tactical chops by going for a roguelike playstyle. This makes it different from its more tactical cousin in a few ways, despite sharing the same art style and isometric view. For starters, you depend on a more intimate partner system instead of using a large team of allies. Foes also move at the same pace you do instead of waiting for full turns, and your level resets to 1 every time you enter a new dungeon. Lastly, there's also a bigger emphasis on loot, including the danger of losing all items collected should you faint in a dungeon. The story itself is filled with Japanese anime and otaku culture references. You start as a typical high school student who meets a mysterious girl and suddenly finds himself surrounded by even more girls while being thrust with a big responsibility. Yeah, that certainly sounds familiar. Despite not being the most original of backstories, the main plot itself is based on an intriguing premise where you guide the fates of characters in the original world by changing them in a mirror copy world. While it certainly has its share of serious parts, wacky moments also abound, whether it be through character interactions or hilarious costumes and animations. I would have loved to be in the developer meeting, for example, when someone originally proposed this idea for a fish costume. Speaking of costumes, the game offers a ton of outfits for your main character, as well as all sorts of weapon and gear that come with their own set of skills like Liam Neeson. As someone who prefers using the original Japanese language track in games like this, the English localization is actually pretty solid, although some of the voices are better than others. Otherwise, the Japanese option is there as well. Overall, the potential of losing all your items and hard work should you faint in the dungeon can make this a frustrating game for newcomers to the genre. If you love roguelike dungeon crawlers, however, the Guided Fate Paradox definitely hits the spot. Speaking of Disgaea, the next game in this week's JRPG Roundup is Disgaea Dimension 2, A Brighter Darkness. I've been a big fan of the Disgaea series ever since witnessing the hilarious Power Rangers spoof of the original game. YOLO! After being limited to cameos in subsequent games, the original crew of Lahari, Etna, and Flonne return in this direct sequel to the first game. This means lots of devilish dysfunction, plenty of tactical hijinks, and over-the-top attacks such as dropping the entire freaking moon on your foes, because we all know that mooning deals massive damage. In this iteration of Disgaea, the Netherworld's new overlord and #1 delinquent with the goofy movie villain laugh struggles to gain some respect as other wannabe demon lords plot his demise. So Lahari decides to channel his inner Aretha Franklin and teach all these disrespectful chumps a lesson. If there's one thing Disgaea D2's got going for it, it's that there's a lot of things to do. In fact, there might be a bit too much. For starters, you can get a wide range of allied troops either through simple recruitment or good old violent kidnapping by throwing enemy units into your base panel for inactive allies to gang up on. See, one of the perks of being a devil is that you can act like, well, a devil, and resort to all sorts of underhanded tactics. This includes bribing demon politicians in the Dark Assembly, or when that fails, giving them a straight-up beatdown to fulfill your demands. In addition to getting your pick from a wide range of warriors and monsters with unique skills, Disgaea D2 also has a pretty deep system that features all sorts of attacks, counterattacks, team-up attacks, cover attacks, and crazy specials. Adding to the strategery is the ability to throw units or even stack them up to 10 humanoid characters high for strategic placement, boosting low-level characters, or ganging up on hapless foes. I think your conscience just went that way. You can also raise likability between characters to improve cooperation in battle or swap abilities for added customization. In addition to mastering weapons by character, you can also level up a weapon itself via item world missions. Folks with limited time might be intimidated or discouraged by the amount of grinding required by the game, including the number of times characters must be reincarnated back to level 1 in order to pump up their stats for some of the post-game missions. If you love a solid tactical JRPG with as much content as a law textbook in college, however, this devilish game will be heaven for you. For our final game, we're looking at another roguelike JRPG in Sorcery Saga, The Curse of the Great Curry God from Access Games. As this PS Vita title implies, this game doesn't take itself seriously, which is actually a good thing. It's also just so gosh darn cute that I just want to hug it. The game basically chronicles a young girl's journey to find ingredients for the legendary magic curry in order to save her favorite curry establishment from the big bad chain that just moved into town. This means lots of dungeon raiding to find all sorts of loot for your curry and champagne dreams. You can also feed extra items to your partner Ku to level him up and re-unlock his skills, given that he resets to level 1 after every dungeon run just like you. Downsides include Ku's sharp as a marble AI and the randomness of his skill unlocks. The game can also get imbalanced if you luck into a powerful weapon drop, which can happen even relatively early in the game. It's still a fun and entertaining roguelike game, however, and also the perfect title for introducing newcomers to the genre. Did I also mention that it's just so adorably and irresistibly cute?